Good morning and welcome to Community Focus. I'm Faith Daniels, and this is winding down to the end of the year. So, no matter when you are viewing this or listening to this, it's going to be great information, but we're doing it at the end of 2020. 2020 has been really something special to all of us because we have experienced some financial setbacks. A lot of people have. Some people have experienced having to budget like never before or do things completely differently in their finances in an effort to survive and to stay afloat. Well, we've got our resident budget guy from Game Time Budgeting, I think it is. Al, thank you for joining us again.
Faith, it is a pleasure to see your face one more time.
Well, I tell you, it's been a challenge. It really, really has. You and I have talked so many times this year about having to deal with our finances differently during a pandemic. And, we're coming out of this thing and we want to help people come out of it better than they went into it, or more importantly, help them come out of it, period. Because at this point, people just want to survive the pandemic as well as survive financially. So we've put together some things that, we want to talk about, to help people prepare financially for a new year. But first, I want you to tell people about the amazing books that you have written because, man, they are serious and they are real life applications that you can use in your own life to get yourself in a better financial situation. What I love to tell people about you is this is not somebody that we just talk to. I know this man. He and his wife both. And not only that, you made yourself into a millionaire right here, sitting in Cincinnati, you and your beautiful wife, following some wonderful principles that you are sharing with us in your books. So tell us about these books.
Yes, so the most recent workbook that I wrote is titled The Uncommon Millionaire's Guide to Financial Fitness, 14 money lessons everyone should know. I wrote this particular workbook as a do-it-yourself guide. In it, it lists all of the steps that my wife and I put into place to get better organization and structure and a system in place that allowed us to become debt-free, to reach the millionaire status and things of that nature. And there also is some software that comes with it as well. Another book that I wrote is The Uncommon Millionaire. Financial Success Begins with Behavior. This book takes you on a journey from when I grew up being what I call financially ignorant and how I had to shift my mindset and approach to money so that I could make my money behave. And last but not least, there is a workbook that I wrote for the younger market. It's called Money Smart Teens. In this workbook, teens will learn about how to make money, how to save money, how to spend money, and in general, it will enhance their overall level of financial literacy. I'm so excited to be on with you today because I am offering all of my workbooks on sale for 25% off. So that sale will be going on throughout the end of this year. It will expire December 31st of 2020. And people can just visit GameTimeBudgeting.com and click on resources. And that way you'll be able to take advantage of the 25% off sale.
Well, what I love about your book is so incredible. The best thing about them is that they are written as if you and I were just talking. It is they're easy reads and they're easy to follow. And what you have to understand that specifically the African American community, traditionally, we have a hard time with budgeting and finances and making them balance. And sometimes we buy things that will satisfy us emotionally, and we are not looking further down the road as to, was this a good purchase? And was it a good purchase right now? I mean, we just satisfy ourselves in ways that Other communities don't necessarily purchase the things we buy. I mean, we've talked about this before, how we'll go out and buy the biggest truck they are selling with the biggest rims, with the biggest stereo. And I know it sounds like I'm being stereotypical, but I'm telling you what I did in my early life, and with sunroof and, get some candy paint on it and all of these things. When you drive that thing off the lot, it's already depreciated in value. And we have to learn to buy things that appreciate and not depreciate. So let's talk about ending the year with a bang. What should people be thinking about this time of the year where their finances are concerned?
Well, as you stated earlier, Faith, this year has been a year like no other. So one of the first things you have to ask yourself, what financial lessons did 2020 teach me?
Ooh.
Now I don't know
Ooh.
about you, Faith, but let me tell you a couple of lessons that I learned. First of all, I learned that there are some things that I can live without, believe it or not.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yeah.
so some of that, my wife and I, we used to routinely, eat out at restaurants quite
Hmm.
frequently. And as you know, that can become rather costly. But what we started doing now, we found websites where they have like copycat recipes. So some of our favorite dishes that we like to enjoy at restaurants, we started making them at home. So for us, we probably won't be eating out as much in 2021. Another thing that I will be doing less of in 2021, and my wife as well, is actually shopping, believe it or not. One of
Yes,
the things
sir.
my wife learned, because now she's, working at home, and she's been at home since late February, March this year. She's like, I have a ton of clothes. And I'll be honest,
Yeah.
Faith, I think I have to agree with her. When you walk into what I call her diva room, it's about 3, 4 different walls of clothing. But I'm like, hey, if you want to be cute, do it up. So in addition to that, we have to also think about what are some of the things that we just have to have in our lives. So one thing that I discovered is that I truly have to have some type of experience, because my wife and I can't travel as much anymore. One of the hobbies that we picked up was actually going on hikes. And that just allows us to enjoy or bathe in nature, as my wife likes to say, while we're also just having good discussions and things of that nature. But to turn it up a notch, Faith, one of the most crucial things that a lot of people learned this year was the importance of having an emergency fund in place. So when I talk about that, emergency fund, this is money that you set aside for a future unexpected event. This is totally different from savings, okay? So when the pandemic hit, obviously you might have some employees whose hours got cut back. Unfortunately, there were a lot of people who also became unemployed as well. And with an emergency fund in place, the larger the amount of cash you have on hand that is accessible, that's kind of like buying you time, so to speak, before, or not before, but so that you can get back on your feet. Another thing we have to discuss as well is just giving your money instructions so that it can behave. Earlier, you mentioned the B word, and I don't know if we can use profanity on the radio, Faith, but when most people hear the word budget, they think it's some type of profane language or some dirty little 6-letter word.
Hmm.
But I try to tell people, if you aren't serious about creating your monthly spending plan or your budget, believe me, all that means is that you play a big part in someone else's budget, meaning the people that you spend money with. So as an example, you have to, in a sense, make the gap between spending and income as wide as possible. So by doing that, you generate more cash flow. And as you know, Faith, all of us, we might have the mortgage, the car payments, the student loans, the electricity bills, and things of that nature. I challenge everyone to physically capture these items down on paper, or you can use a Microsoft Excel as an example. I dare people to actually list how much money is coming into their house and where all of the money is going. Even if you have to go and pull an old banking statement from last month, or even look at your credit card statements as well, you need to definitely track your financial inventory. So in addition to that, Faith, we do need to discuss the difference between having an emergency fund and then having a savings account as well. So earlier I talked about what the purpose of an emergency fund, or the purpose is to set aside money for a future unexpected event. Now, a savings account, on the other hand, just like right now, we are maybe what, 9 days away from Christmas. Okay. Christmas comes on the same day year after year. So why is it that we are somewhat surprised when Christmas rolls around? So if we know that December 25th is Christmas, guess what we can do, Faith? We can start planning 12 months in advance. Just like right now, Christmas is going to happen December 25th of 2021. If you know that you spend on average $600 around Christmas time, how easy could it be to save $50 a month starting in January? So then by the time December 25th of 2021 rolls around, you have the in cash that you need to purchase gifts for individuals that you love. It is really that simple, Faith.
Well, that sounds so easy. And so, what I want people to do is not only think about the things that you've just said, but make a list. And you said financial, to write down in your finances, and then physically look at it, capture it, and see where the money's going and what's coming in, what's going out. We live in such a haphazard way of, well, I know I got paid, but I'm just paying this and I'm gonna pay this and I'll pay this. And you don't realize the things that you could do without. During the pandemic, there is a love affair with clothes that I no longer have because I'm just like, they've got to go. I don't wear them and they're taking up space. And I'm sure my husband would like to have a yard sale and just give the stuff away. But I thought back to, when did I buy this? Why did I buy this? Why are there still tags on it? That means that was an emotional purchase. And once it was purchased, it really had no purpose. And that is what I have been walking through this pandemic with, purchasing with a purpose. And
I
I've
love
been
it.
able to really save money, not only save money, I think we talked about this on one of our other ones. I took a credit card that had been at the limit for like 2 years. I would pay it down so it wouldn't go over the limit and get a charge for that. I paid that credit card down to $6.
Oh, I love
$6.
it. And clap.
I asked, yes, I'm excited about that. But what that tells me, I could have done this 2 years ago. I could have done this 3 years ago. What was I focused on? Not the right things. Just that simple. It's about being focused, and it's about, at some point, sacrificing the emotional connection to things, to food, to hair and nails that some of us are, we have some addictions that we just absolutely love. But financially, if you have goals in mind, the only way to get to those goals financially is to do what you would do for any other goal. And that means train for your financial fitness. Al, you've been doing a fantastic job of training us, giving us rules, giving us applications, giving us opportunities to look at our current situation and then use what you've told us to apply all of that to our lives. You and your wife cooking instead of going out. I'm afraid to go out personally. It's just me, but I'm afraid.
It's just
So,
takeout now.
yes, yeah, I mean, even with takeout, I'm thinking, how do I know that the people in there cooking are well? How do I know that? I don't. So rather than take myself through it, I'll go to the grocery store. One of the
Definitely.
things that I want to remind you to, kind of enlighten us about, you did already, but before we finish, I want to hit on that again. The difference in a emergency fund and a savings account. There are a lot of people thinking, well, what do I need a savings account for? I have a checking account. Well, Yeah, but you need a savings account because that checking is revolving. It's revolving. The savings is helping you along that financial pathway to your financial goals. So for 2021, what is it that some things you think people are going to be overlooking as they prepare for the new year? Because it's something that people are, oh, I'm going into the new year and I'm going to make a resolution. What are they overlooking in making their resolutions, financial resolutions?
Okay, and actually, if you don't mind, Faith, I'm gonna turn that into two questions, right? so,
Absolutely. Go right
so
ahead.
let me touch on the phenomenon of making New Year's resolutions. And I actually looked this word up because I was so intrigued by the word resolution, and it actually means a strong will or determination. So then I was like, well, will making a resolution really create change in your life? So then I Googled the word intention. And check this out, Faith. That means a course of action that a person intends to follow. So, with the resolution, in my mind, you can say you're going to save more money, you can say you're going to decrease debt, but without a plan of action, what's the point? So from now on, and I'm not big on resolutions, but I'm going to say I am going to set an intention for the new year, not a resolution.
I
But
like
getting back to
that.
some
I
of the
like
things
that.
so that was a wake up call for me. So of course I thought I'd share it with your listeners. But some of the things that people tend to overlook when the new year rolls around, first of all, we do need to think about what are some of the things that are on automatic uh, pay
Deductions.
or automatic draft that are running your household. Yeah, exactly. So like electricity bill, phone bill, cable, things of that nature. But if you aren't paying attention to these things, there probably are some items in your budget that are being drafted out of your account that you've forgotten about, which leads
Mhm.
one of my points. I always say automate does not mean ignore. Okay, so take a quick look at where your money is going, and they're coming out of your bank account. Old subscriptions that you don't use anymore, cancel those things. Another thing that we need to be thinking about for 2021 as well, I always say use the rule of 12. Okay, and I alluded to this earlier as an example because my wife and I, because we don't have any debt at all, even our mortgage is paid off. So when it comes to paying real estate taxes, we have to pay every 6 months. Okay. So when I say utilize the rule of 12, I know roughly what our real estate taxes are going to be for the year. So I just divide that by 12, and that is how much money we set aside in a savings account every month. Because savings, again, that is money set aside for a future planned event. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, I'm going to have to pay that real estate tax
Mhm.
bill
Mhm.
every 6 months. So why can't I plan in advance for it? Something else that we need to be thinking about as well, because we just or are in the midst of coming out of a pandemic. One day I was sitting down in the home office and I had to ask myself a question. Do I have everything in place right now so that if I was to leave this earth tomorrow, my wife wouldn't have to worry about anything, right? So, what do I mean by that? And because we are coming through a pandemic, we do need to be thinking about, do we have documented or have we documented our wishes in the event that we leave this earth sooner than expected? Do we have things set up like payable on death on our banking or checking and savings accounts at our respective banking institutions? What do I mean by that? As an example, because my wife and I bank with a certain institution, and we used to travel a lot. If for some reason something happened and we went on to glory, as they say down south, my sister could literally walk into a bank as long as she has copies of our death certificates, and she would get access to the money that's in the bank. Because you have to remember this, Faith, although you may expire, your life somewhat will continue from a financial point of view because you still have bills in your name and other things of that nature. So you have to have somebody identified to keep that financial household going, so to speak. Another thing that I always tell people to do at the end of the year, going into the new year, retrieve a copy of your credit report. And as you know, you can get one free copy every year from one of the credit bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, as well as Equifax. And you can receive this for free by law. But make sure as you go down that list of items, make sure that there aren't any items up there that don't belong to you. Because in the world we're living in these days, not only is identity theft real, but people do make errors and things of that nature. So double check your credit reports as well. And last but not least, I'll mention this. How many of us listening right now actually have a last will testament? I think it is so crucial to actually document what you want to happen after you leave this earth. And Faith, I'm not trying to be doom and gloom. You know me, I live in the real world and I love my life, but I know I'm not going to live forever, right? So, and when you don't have things documented, to me, that just leads to chaos and stress. So prepare as though you may leave this earth sooner than you think. That way your loved ones will not be overwhelmed with a lot of stress and then passing the bucket and things of that nature.
Well, Al,
so
let
those are
me
a
jump
couple
in
of
right
tips
here.
to think about as you to become more
Well,
financially.
let me jump in right here. One of the things that we have talked about all year is trying to financially be okay when the pandemic is over. Now, we both know that a lot of us, we're going to have to turn it around. We're going to have to turn it around. A lot of people have gotten into credit card debt, trying to live on their credit cards if their money was cut off based on a job stopping, based on just being unemployed, period, or underemployed. We know that. Coming out of 2020, people should subscribe to, and I won't say any one particular, but a credit monitoring service. It allows you to monitor you. You know, you talked about getting the credit report, but if you subscribe to the credit monitoring service, you know what's going on every 7 days. They update your credit report, or they take a snapshot of it and they tell you if a new account has appeared, if someone has made an inquiry about you credit wise. It is so important to know if your credit score is going up, going down, if it's fluctuating, and what's causing it to happen. So many times people don't understand the balance you carry on your credit card can affect your credit score. And most people think, well, all I got is a credit card and a car note and a house note. I don't see why my credit's looking the way it's looking. How long have you carried that balance that high? How many times have you been late? How many times have you paid less than what was the minimum? How many times? And people don't understand. That's just like a little woodpecker just ticking away at your credit score. Be more credit conscious for 2021. No matter what people think, if you don't have credit, it's difficult. It is just difficult. And when you think about it, people will tell you, well, I pay cash for everything. Well, your credit worthiness is so important. Teach your children to establish credit worthiness so that when they're 50, they're not somewhere trying to look around like, what have I done with my life, and can't secure a loan for a matchstick. That's not what we want our children to go through. It's just not.
Exactly. And if I could just expand some of the excellent points you brought up, Faith, when it comes to this credit thing, okay, and I totally understand because, you know, we just got smacked in the face with this whole pandemic situation. If you did have to rely on your cards just to eat, because some situations are just that bad right now. And I totally understand that once you start to build your financial life back up, one of the most important things you could ever do is start setting aside just a small amount of money every week. I don't care if it's 10, 20, 50, $100, whatever the amount is, the goal is to be consistent with it, because that's something that can impede a lot of financial progress is the lack of consistency or the lack of discipline. Another thing about credit scores as well, you have to keep this in mind. You might be saying, well, you know what? I'm not going to pay X bill this month. I'll just take care of that next month. And some people are in the situation where they have a choice. However, when you pay a bill late, that is the worst thing you could ever do, which will negatively impact your credit score, because about 35% of your credit score is based on payment history. Another 30% is based on debt. So as an example, when you were talking earlier about the different, types of debt and having, mortgages or auto loans and things of that nature, there is this little thing called debt to income ratio as well. So most of the time, well, not most, I do spot, if you can keep that doggone debt to income ratio as close to about 35% as possible, that will make your life a lot less stressful going forward. Now, I do realize that some people are at 45, 50, 55%, but you do have to ask yourself, and I pose these questions to myself all the time. How did I get to where I am? Now,
right.
You could ask yourself after a positive result, but you could also ask yourself that question after a negative result as well. And I'm not big on throwing out the blame game. Most of the bad I've been through in my life, Faith, guess what? I was the cause of it. It was me and my habits. But when it comes to money, one of the things that fascinates me about it is that financial management is a skill that anybody can learn. Because guess what, Faith? If you know that 1 + 1 = 2 and 3 - 2 = 1, that's half the battle right there. It's just doing basic math. Earlier, you talked about how sometimes people will make emotional or impulse purchases. That can get you into a lot of trouble. And I always say, before you make any financial decision, be sure to do the math, because numbers don't lie. And when you do the math, that will tell you can afford and what you cannot afford. And trust me, and I've been guilty of this numerous times. Right? If I see something that's flashy in a store, things that sparkle or things that look really nice and high quality, that's your eye. But just because it looks good, does that mean it's really good for you? And can you afford it? So when I use the word afford, I don't mean affordability from the point of I can make a payment. No. I mean, do I have the cash in my pocket right now to get this sweater that might be on sale, or this pair of shoes, regular price $200, now they're on sale for $100? Because when you get caught up in this game of installment credit, that will make you believe that you can live a lifestyle that you can't afford, all because you're looking at payments or installments. And that can get you into a lot of trouble as well.
You have made so many great points, and we are absolutely in love with how simple, how easy, and how direct that you have been with us all year in getting our financial quote unquote household in order. And it's been a journey. It has really been a journey, and I'm so glad we got you to come on that journey with us and show us how to do it. Now, if you're watching this video, you can see the website gametimebudgeting.com right there at the bottom of the video. In addition to that, you can reach out to Al, because Al has the ability to help get you on track. It is not free, but you have to get on track. If you can't do it on your own, if you need direction, reach out to him and allow him to at least give you a consultation that will get you moving in the right direction for you to accomplish your financial goals for 2021. Al, give him the phone number, please.
Yes, man. Phone number to the office is 513-813-3275. Again, that's 513-813-3275. And I always tell people 15, 20-minute consultation at no cost. Even when people do decide to just see what Game Time Budgeting is all about, we have a 8-question survey that you can complete. Again, that's free of charge as well, just to determine if your needs and game time budgeted capabilities are a match, because I don't want people wasting their time. Nor
Yeah.
do I want anybody on my team wasting their time either. So one that can help you get the results you desire. And at the end of the day, I want to go to my grave, Faith, knowing that I was able to help me unleash their financial potential, because we all have within us. However, it's not going to come out unless you apply a little bit of pressure. And pressure is good,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Absolutely. And that's what the pandemic has done. It has applied pressure. It has applied pressure definitely for us to find a better way to do some things where we were just haphazardly financially doing just whatever. It's time now to walk that line of responsible finances. Responsible finances. And it can't just be, oh, willy-nilly. I'll give this one thing and then we're going to go. But I stopped carrying a plastic card with me because it is so easy to swipe. It is easy to swipe, as opposed to having cash in my hand and I see that's $50. And it's a little harder for me to part with $50 than it is for me to just swipe. You just swipe it, it's gone, and you don't even think. But if I'm physically, maybe it's just me and it's a hand eye, connectivity that says it was in my hand and now it's gone. Whatever the malfunction I may be having that allows me to work that way, it has saved me a lot of money during this pandemic. A lot. Al, thank you so much.
So true. And Faith, can I say one more thing very quickly?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I forgot to mention this earlier. This is an end of year holiday gift for everybody. The Department of Education just sent out a message stated that federally backed student loans will remain in forbearance until January 31st of next year. Originally, under the CARES Act, that forbearance period was going to end on December 31st. So now you have one of no interest and no payments on your student loans. So I'm trying to tell you, use that free gift wisely. And at the end of the day, I always say, count your money to give every dollar you earn instructions so it will behave.
That's right. That's right. Al Riddick, GameTimeBudgeting.com. Log on, see what it's all about. And most importantly, go into 2021 with your financial awareness heightened and your ability to build credit and your financial future. And next time, we're going to tell you how to build a portfolio, because it's one thing to save money, but Al has some tips to have your money work for you, not just sit in the bank lounging around. It needs to be working for you to make you more money. Thank you so much, Al, and thank you for checking out Community Focus. I'm Faith Daniels. Enjoy your day.